first episode of what's going to be tentatively titled Brockton Celestial Forge Explained. I'm just going to go chapter by chapter and explain what happens in that chapter, because my slow reading pace was kind of annoying me for my reading playlist. So for chapter 1, we get a little backstory and learn some about the powers. This chapter was posted on May the 5th, 2020, being the first chapter. It was also the start, it was posted at the time of the creation of the story. We learn that our protagonist, Joe, is a college dropout who works in the rich part of the city as a retail person. Approximately 1 week ago, he got his parahuman power, which is Worm's superpower name, parahuman. Parahuman and cape are the two titles and are kind of used interchangeably. And during that week, he had made a few things that weren't important, and one very big one, an access key to let him enter his effectively pocket dimension workshop. The first room is a 5 by 5 meter cube that he is effectively living out of because he can only afford the crappiest of apartments. And off to the left of that, in a separate room, is a really well-stocked metal workshop. He briefly speaks about being able to not exactly talk, but can communicate with his passenger. His source for the parahuman powers, which all capes have, apparently, but he can unusually speak to them. And his passenger considers his primary power the Celestial Forge, a kind of holy grail / Mount Everest that he wants to see completed. He fails to gain any new powers because his reach hasn't built up. The story doesn't explain how he builds up reach, but the author does briefly, in another area, explain that the writing of the story is how the reach builds up. Since he failed to gain any new powers, he briefly has an inner monologue about the fact that he has over 300 powers divided into 12 different constellations that appear as spinning stars in his mind, going around in a circle. So he doesn't know what powers he can get. He only knows of the Toolkit constellation right now, for sure. After failing to get the power he heads down to a local gym within running distance, where he speaks briefly to a character named Doug, who works at the gym, who is a boxing instructor there that he works with sometimes, along with Mr. Laboon. Doug pries into his backstory a little bit, and he learns that Joe dropped out of college because, only in part, because of some troubles with a girl named Saba from the college there. They had both been in engineering, but after some troubles, both with Joe and her home life, Saba transferred out, while Joe ended up dropping out after some personal problems at home. We then get the basics of what his powers are from the author after the story itself ends. The workshop itself is a metal workshop that always restocks itself. It only comes with what you'd expect from like a college level metal workshop, but it instantly restocks, so it is very useful. He has an access key that lets him into the entrance hall, the 5 meter by 5 meter cube, and the key will always be on his person. It can't be destroyed or lost. He will always be able to grab it out of his pocket effectively. Thank you for listening, if anyone's even been listening.